I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Nick Hodge, founder and president of the Outsider Club. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Charlotte, for having me.
Yeah, it'll be great. So, at the Outsider Club, you cover a wide variety of commodities and markets. I wanted to start by asking what the most compelling opportunity you've seen this year is in metals. What's your favorite right now?
Yeah, I think there's been a multi-year opportunity in uranium. It's been debased for so long that the price is incredibly cheap right now, trading somewhere between $20 and $21 a pound. I don't think any uranium company in the world is making money at that price, and so by the laws of supply and demand, the price has to rise, right? The price has to rise for uranium companies to be incented to get the uranium out of the ground, and so I think there's a very real opportunity for investors to take positions in quality companies that have high-grade and shallow uranium assets that are really going to reap rewards in the next cycle when the uranium price does start to rise.
When do you think that will happen?
That's a very loaded question, right? I thought it would have happened already, to be honest. Sure. So I was probably a bit premature in my call for uranium. But talking to people here, people like Scott Melby from UEC, who is an advisor to Kazatomprom, and they're talking about cutting 10% of global production. Kazakhstan is talking about taking Kazatomprom public, and of course they would want the commodity price higher, a higher uranium commodity price environment for that initial public offering. I think the utilities also have to come back into the cycle in 2019 and 2020, and typically equities will start to move ahead of that. So let's say next year. I think that I've talked to some people who have talked to the Kazakhs lately, and I believe that uranium prices have to begin to rise soon.
Okay, so what have you been doing to take advantage of that opportunity so far?
If I could talk about a specific company, there's a company here called Fission Uranium that I'm a large shareholder in, and that's been a recommendation of mine for a long time. They own an asset in the Athabasca Basin of Saskatchewan that has 100 million known pounds now. There's likely much more than that. They've done a preliminary economic assessment on that says they can get that uranium out of the ground at $14 a pound. And they've done a lot of drilling since that PEA came out, so I think there's a lot of pounds that haven't been formally added to the resource in the form of a 43101 compliant document. They look to do that next year, and I think you'll see this thing start to creep to 150 or 200 million pounds. It's incredibly pure, it's incredibly shallow, and I believe it'll be a mine one day.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, I watched one of your presentations yesterday. You had a lot of great advice for investors. I wondered though, what is the biggest mistake you usually see people make, just in general, in investing in resources?
I think people get attracted to a story or a dream, right? Everyone wants to find a gold mine. A gold mine is very exciting, and I think people get caught up in stories as opposed to numbers. I think you really have to drill down in the share structure and make sure that the company was put together in a way that allows the price to rise for all stakeholders, not just those that were in on the first couple of rounds of financing. So, make sure that management interests are aligned with your interest and that they have skin in the game and that they paid for those shares. I think that's the best advice I can give it, and not doing that, I think, is the mistake.
Sure. So here, I think we've got a lot of people who are interested in gold. It seems almost this year that cryptocurrencies have been the biggest story connected to gold. Do you look at cryptocurrencies? Do you see them competing with gold? What are your thoughts? Yeah,
cryptocurrencies are popular in 2017. I actually recommended Bitcoin in 2013, so I was a bit ahead of the curve on that one. We have since sold. At this point, there's a lot of dogs in that fight. In fact, there's like a dog coin, right? I mean, there's Ether, there's Bitcoin, there's thousands of cryptocurrencies that are popping up. And so in that respect, I don't know how unique it is. Quite honestly, I believe it's too early to tell. I think that the real benefit of the cryptocurrencies is the blockchain ledger that allows transparency of transactions and accountability in real time. But as far as picking a cryptocurrency, I don't know. I want to hold things in my hand.
Okay. So you've mentioned before, young people really have a huge interest in cryptocurrencies. Do you think in the gold market and in mining and things like that, do people need to be doing more to get young people into it?
I think absolutely, and I would say that I've seen more young people at the New Orleans Investment Conference this year than I've ever seen, so that's a good thing. I'm not sure what the gold industry can do, because it's sort of like a generational gap, right? I mean, I think that gold has been around for thousands of years, and I think that cryptocurrencies have only been around for a decade. As my partner Gerardo Del Real said in a presentation on the first day of this conference, he said that investors in cryptocurrencies haven't had their faith tested yet, and by that he means let's see how many investors are going to continue to hold their cryptocurrencies if Bitcoin slips from 5,000 to $4,000. So I think it's to be interesting when these new investors have their metal tested. And I'd also add the young people that I've talked to in my office and elsewhere putting money into cryptocurrencies before they're establishing their retirement accounts. And I would advise that that's a mistake. I think you should set up some safe investments before you start speculating on cryptocurrencies. But I think once gold has its cycle, once we get to $1,400 and it becomes more in the headlines, I think you'll see young people start to be more attracted to the yellow metal.
Okay. Do you have a gold price prediction? Where do you see gold going as we go into next year?
I'm not going to predict the price, but I think that the gold price is going to rise because reserves have to be replaced, and it's similar to uranium. I mean, the cost to get it out of the ground has got to be matched by the public price of the commodity, and so yeah, no, I think we get to $1,400 gold in the next 2 years, and I think if we hold that level, then I think it could be a very real slingshot effect from there.
Okay, so last question. Another thing that young people like is cannabis stocks, which you look at. For resource investors, maybe the people here, what's your advice for people who want to switch from resource to cannabis, or maybe not switch, but
diversify?
Yes.
Sure. Same thing as in mining stocks. You got to do your research, know the people involved. It's such a hot sector right now that there's a lot of shysters and shenanigans. It's easy to put cannabis or marijuana in the name of your company and go out and run a promotion, right? I think you need to make sure that these companies are doing what they say, that they actually have their license, that they're an LP, a licensed producer. And I think you should just make some smart bets early. Look, I think that less than a quarter of the U.S. states have legalized marijuana in a recreational capacity, and I think that you'll see a cascade effect over the next decade as more and more states get jealous of the tax revenue being generated in Colorado and Washington. And so I think it's very early days in that sector, and I think if you pick a few quality companies that are already entrenched in the sector, you'll do quite well.
So same principles. Good. All right, that is all from me. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Charlotte. Pleasure.
Great. Once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod, and this is Nick Hodge.